Hey, all you Arizona lovers, welcome back to the Finding Arizona podcast, episode number 345. I'm your host, Jose. As always, we bring in a very special guest, and today's no different. Ladies and gentlemen, I would love to introduce you to Angie, who is behind Hope for Kids International. We are very, very happy to have them, and it was a wonderful conversation to have with Angie. She was an incredible, remarkable individual who's seen and done a lot of things in her life. So I always enjoyed speaking to these non-for-profits, and we hope that you always stay connected with every single non-for-profit that we have coming through our doors through the links that we share with you in the bio. So that means go to the bios, give them a click, help them by donating to them, whatever means that you can. That's always helpful. And as always, I want you to also go check out our website, findingarizonapodcast.com. There you'll catch every episode, on top of which you'll also in return get other opportunities to check other things out. If you want to go check out the newsletter, it's a little bit more of the official side of things, but if you want to get a little bit more personal, there is a vlog which is available on YouTube. There's also a blog available on our website, which is definitely all oriented and helped curated by my wife Brittany, who is also a producer on the show and behind a lot of the things that we do here at the podcast. So that is all from me to you, on top of which there's other opportunities to go check us out on social media, everything under Finding Arizona Podcast. So that being said, I want to say thank you again to Hope for Kids, and also thank you to Angie, and we will catch you on the next episode. Stay in touch with us, and we will always return the love. And as always, we say kisses, hugs, and belly rubs to our four-legged friends. I'll catch you on the next episode. Welcome back, everybody, to the Finding Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Jose. As always, we bring in very special guests every week, and today is no different. Ladies and gentlemen, I would love to introduce Angie here, who is the Vice President of Hope for Kids International. For the last 40 years, they have been committed to serving children in impoverished environments around the world by establishing economic, spiritual, water, educational, and feeding programs. Please welcome Angie. Angie, hi.
Hi, Jose. Thanks for having us.
No problem. I'm very excited to get into this. There's a lot of important things going on in the world, and I think that what you guys have here is something very special, and I'd love to get into it. You are the vice president. I'd love to understand a little bit how you got into the mix of this Hope for Kids, and also I just know from my own research you're a North Texas girl. How'd you end up in Arizona?
Yes. Well, if you're familiar with Papado Seafood Kitchen, my husband used to be a general manager there. And so we got transferred out here. And as much as we love Texas, we love Arizona. Love it. We've been out here like 20 years.
That's so good. Again, it's one of those things. It's like I love hearing how people end up in this state, because it's it's very much a melting pot.
It is.
There's a little bit of the natives who live here, but there's definitely a mix of the people who come from out of state. And I very much am hopeful that we're very open and still open to those who come in, and very kind to those, and bring them into the environment here, into the community here too. Let me ask you this. So this is not something that is an everyday. This is very much having to do with critical needs of children and families. How did you end up here? Why is this important to you?
I went on my first mission trip to Peru in 2006, and it was the worst poverty that Hope for Kids International had ever seen. Children and families rummaging through big trash heaps. They lived on big trash dumps, foraging for food. And it was devastating. I had never seen anything like that before. I got home and it just wrecked me. And so on that trip, our founder, Tom Egham, had asked me to join the team. And I said, don't say it if you don't mean it. And I literally started working the day I got home. And I just celebrated my 16th year with Hope for Kids in July.
Awesome. Kudos to you and congratulations, first off. And then secondly, I can't imagine, being able, what you did was you experienced something, and then you had to walk away. Like, those things really do leave a residual scar or mark on you inside. And so Was there any opportunity for you to go back, or was there any opportunity for you to kind of stay connected?
Well, absolutely. And once you go on a mission trip and you're exposed to extreme poverty, like the countries that we serve at Hope for Kids,
Yeah.
um, it makes you very reflective how you can make a difference yourself.
Mm.
And so it might be through monetary donations, it might be serving on another mission trip.
Yeah.
Really, it becomes so personal once you get to meet the people.
Hmm.
You see how their lives, how they're truly suffering, but you also get to see the tremendous impact that people are making. And that makes you think, like, how can I not respond? And so we always sign up for at least a 5-year commitment in the
Hmm.
areas that we're serving. Currently, we've got about 10 international projects around the world:
Yeah.
Uganda, Romania, the Philippines, Namibia, Nepal, Mexico. And then we're embarking on a couple of other countries. And there are incredible people, ministry partners around the world that we're partnering with to make a tremendous, um, life-changing, generational impact in the children and families that they are also serving.
Yeah, absolutely. That's again, I go back to nonprofit work is something that I can ultimately say it brings great value to every single person it affects. That's, families, the people
Mm-hmm.
working on the other
Yeah.
side. I'm an advocate for it. I believe in it. I try my best to allow myself time to do it, because that's definitely something that you do. I always say this, you want the best of the best, the people who are
Mm-hmm.
committed to
Yeah.
the cause. And so I would allow
Right.
myself that time to, I don't want to be the person known as, oh, he's just doing it because he wants to promote it for his podcast. No, I
Right.
really do want
Yeah.
to just
Yeah.
find something that I'm, very much involved and loved, about, and be that part. But it's again, I totally believe that, these kids, these families
Mm-hmm.
are, we've had nonprofits come in and just tell
Mm-hmm.
stories about, and we just recently had one on just music alone,
Mm-hmm.
being a kind of foundational point to
Mm-hmm.
bring joy to these kids
Yeah.
in hard times. Have you seen that for yourself, for, those moments of, whether that's in the classroom or, just having these gathering moments with these families and these groups? Have you seen that kind of like simplistic joy come out of
Oh,
these moments?
absolutely. As much as I'm here to tell you about the needs, especially evolving around the water crisis around the world, people
Mhm,
that are truly suffering, women and children that are walking miles each way
mhm,
to a contaminated open pond
mhm.
that they share with animals. The animals,
Do what they do.
defecate in there. The girls and the women, unfortunately, get violated and raped on the way. The children are not able to go to school because they are literally trekking for water.
Mhm,
Sometimes it's a seasonal, pit.
mhm,
And when that dries up during the dry season, they have to trek even greater distances. They're suffering. These kids have already lived a lifetime of suffering. They've lost one or both of their parents to HIV/AIDS. They've seen their siblings perish. They've suffered from waterborne diseases. They get knocked on the side of the road in accidents trekking for water. I mean, the list, I've been to Uganda nearly, maybe even more, 50 times. And still, I'm just blown away about not only the level of their suffering, but the resiliency and their joy, what you're
mhm,
talking about. When
mhm,
we come in after we've drilled a well and we're opening the well for this entire village that, thousands of people will be impacted, thousands of people are going to be experiencing and having clean, safe water. And I get a chance, it's my favorite thing, is to bring in our teams, our sponsors, our partners who have
mhm.
drilled wells, have sacrificially given, they've learned about their village. Some people have never flown on a plane before, and they're like, I'm going to go meet the village that I helped bring clean water to. And here's this village, hundreds, Jose, hundreds of women and children and families, waving these tree limbs and palm branches,
Mm-hmm.
jubilating, welcoming, ushering us into this village. And they're so exuberant and joyful. They greet us with music and dance and joy and hugs. The most grateful people on the planet. And they say, my joy must be greater than my sorrow.
Mm.
And so when you understand a little bit of the window of how they've been suffering, we'll take them to the original water source.
Mm-hmm.
So our team can see the actual water that they were drinking.
Mm-hmm.
I just got back from Uganda about a week and a half ago. We dedicated a few wells on this trip, and you could see the salamanders and the frogs in the water that they were drinking before we opened this well. And they said, thank you. We don't have to drink frog urine anymore. And we're like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Like, that's just not right.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get to see their joy. You get to see how you've turned and transformed an entire village forever.
Mm-hmm.
You've changed the trajectory. We teach them about hygiene and sanitation. So you can imagine somebody that has never had clean, safe water. They said, we did not know the water was killing us. So you can imagine about these invisible things that kill you. So they don't even know about germs. So we bring lots of glitter with us.
Yeah.
So we put it on our hands and we're like, how are you? How are you? How are you? Shake all their hands. And you know how glitter is. It's all over their face. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And you cannot get it off unless you use soap and water.
Yeah.
So we teach them to about hygiene and sanitation. We teach them about taking care of their well to keep it open and fully functioning.
Mm-hmm.
And so much goodness and impact comes from having clean, safe water to drink.
Exactly. So I'll give you a little information about where I come from. I grew up on the Hopi Reservation up north. And so water, I don't know if you've been surrounded or gone up there before, but we're surrounded by the Navajo Nation, which in itself is a large reservation that spans 4 states. And their water situation is becoming worse and worse for some of the villagers and some of the people who live in more secluded areas. And as Arizona becomes a more an increased populated state. Now we are Phoenix is part of Arizona, and Phoenix has now become the 5th largest state in the US. What we started to also recognize as our tribe has become more prevalent with education and research and all of these, we've started to realize that our water resources are becoming contaminated. And a couple of years back, they stopped using a underground water resource, and now that has become now water is now more important than ever on our village, in particular with the state too. And so, as I don't know if you know any of, or it could explain some of the water situations with these and how it kind of correlates with some of the international stuff. But what are some of the first kind of what happens to individuals when water becomes completely contaminated, or in the sense that like it becomes completely a resource that is limited?
Well, just as I was mentioning, I mean, and I hear about the water crisis on the tribal lands all the time, and I hope that there is somebody that has a larger scope who can figure out and provide clean water, because everybody deserves to have clean, safe water to drink. when we hear about those water issues, especially in Arizona when water is so precious, it helps us become more reflective to people around the world that they'll never meet that are truly suffering. The waterborne diseases is one of the top ways that people suffer. Another way that people suffer is dehydration, from not drinking enough water. And, you and I hear all the time on the news when somebody's hiking, they don't drink enough water and they get in jeopardy up there when they're hiking and so forth. So those are the two main issues.
Yeah.
But in these developing countries, especially in East Africa, where Uganda is ranked the number third in the world for the lack of access to clean, safe water. And they're actually ranked number one in the world for the poor quality of water that they have to drink, because they only can drink the surface water that they share with animals and things like that. And so, domestic violence. So if you're a woman and you've gone out for a few hours to trek for water, and they're trekking not to a hose or to a spigot, they're traveling to just this contaminated pond. Sometimes there's such lack of water. They sit there with a cup and they sit down and they wait for their cup to fill up. And then they pour it in their jerry can, their water container, and they sit there all day. One water source that we went to, children were sitting there with their cup and they were sharing their water source with a hive of bees. It's like stuff. I mean, like, you can't make this stuff up. It's just very horrific stories. Uganda is also shares Lake Victoria, which is the largest lake in Africa.
Yeah.
Which they also get some of their water from there. But the villages around, they think the lake is too big to be contaminated, and there's also crocodiles in there. So all those little tributaries that go to some of those villages, I actually have 2 field officers that have lost a family member due to crocodile attacks. And you're like, it's just something that we can't even think of. So it's just the ways that people suffer. Domestic violence is huge. So when the women are gone all day, they come back, they're, the lunch isn't ready. The husbands think that they've stepped out on them, and they're subject to domestic violence. So water, they say in Africa, which is true everywhere, water is life, because it affects every aspect of someone's life.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. That is something that and when you talk about the travel, the means to get to water and what we're willing to do, it's one of those critical points that if we as Americans don't, understand, like, this is it's a finite resource that, yes, it'll get replenished every so often, but it's not replenishing 100%. It's something that is again, it's affected by what we do in the environment, how we affect it, how we ourselves put our our own toxins, our own we take away from the tributaries. All of that affects that amount that gets put back in. So I'm just worried, particularly being a new father, as we further ourselves and we take take more and more from the resources that we have, like, we have to be vigilant, because if we're not, this is something that could end up being the United States. It could end up being something that we have to suffer through, or we have to, wrap our heads around.
There's a global water crisis. And although, we've got a lot of problems in the world, a lot of problems here at home, but there is a global water crisis. And, when you can empathize with the families and the communities that you get to meet, and you see your own family in that situation, you see your own children, your own mothers that are suffering unnecessarily. The most ironic thing is in Uganda, there's a lot of water in the aquifers under the
Yeah.
ground. It not even in, I mean, few 100 feet below the surface. So there's a lot of water. And so you think, gosh, these people are dying and suffering unnecessarily.
Mm.
But when you can spend as little as $10,000 to drill a well to impact not only that community, but the
Mhm.
surrounding areas as well, you think like, why, I have to respond. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Because I just wish everybody could go on a mission trip.
Yeah,
Um,
and understand, like, see it with their own 2 eyes. I
oh
think
yeah.
that empathy is something that we all kind of it triggers us in any sort of
Hmm.
way. You just see it and you kind of it I hope most people would understand once you see it and you can visualize it, it's tangible, it becomes real in the sense that in your mind, it's like, "Oh, man, this is gonna be forever burned into my head, these
Right.
people, the people, and this situation." So for me, I was a young man, a young boy when I first realized that water was this important, and so I have always been, someone who realizes that the water that we drink, the water that we use, the water that we, is important. I just want everyone else to understand, there are already crises, fires in the world that we can help with.
Hmm.
And so,
Yeah.
like you said, I would love to help our audience understand, some of the first steps. I know, there's these different programs, adopt a child, help adopt a village, adopt a child. Can you break down some of those services and what you guys provide?
Sure. At Hope for Kids International, we've got different divisions within our organization, and people can plug in where their passion is. Clean water, that's our first line of defense. That's
Mhm.
like our triage. That's, the ground up. We get started with clean water. When we can equip a village with clean water, the children now have, they're healthier, and
Mhm.
now they can go to school
Yeah.
and they have that time freed up so the girls get to go to school, which is so important. In our child sponsorship program, we truly believe that education is a way out of extreme poverty.
Yeah.
Once you can educate a child, nobody could ever take that from them again. So we sponsor kids to go to school. We sponsor about 3,000 orphaned and vulnerable children in our school, or in our program to go to school around the world, in all of our international projects. And we stay with this child for as long as they want to go to school.
Yeah.
We've got kids who were orphans that have become medical doctors serving in our own medical clinics. We've
Wow.
got kids that have become attorneys. And I mean, I guess one of the thing is, I want to leave our audience with is, yes, these people are suffering, but the amount of hope that they have, and they're resilient, they're funny, they're smart, they're hopeful. They want to make a difference themselves.
Mhm.
So when you can sponsor a child and have them go to school, you've changed the life of that child, and now you've changed the life of their children because
Mhm.
now they understand the importance of going to school and they've had that golden opportunity.
Absolutely.
We've got projects. One of the things that separates Hope for Kids International from some other organizations is that we are a registered non-government organization in Uganda, which
Mm.
means we're like a registered charity in Uganda.
Mhm.
We have our own team. We have a staff of about 94 people that
Wow.
oversee all of our Water for Kids International projects, all of our sponsored kids. We sponsor about 3,000 kids,
Yeah.
about 2,500 in Uganda. We build and administrate schools, primary schools, secondary schools, vocational schools, and so people can make a difference, coming on a mission trip, serving at one of these areas, one of our schools, and then we also do these awesome medical outreaches around the world.
Yeah.
We do a lot of them in Uganda, and then also around the world. We just had one of our doctors that travels with us frequently. They just came back from the Philippines, and she was able to identify a child that had tuberculosis, and they quickly took him to the hospital to get treated. But she said that would have wiped out the entire village.
Yep.
So, it's just like, wow, these important things. We ship some manna packs in Arizona. We're Hope for Kids International. We are the only beneficiary of Feed My Starving Children, which is another. They're also based here. One of their centers is here in Arizona. And so we ship their manna packs, about 1 million meals a year, to our international locations. Highly nutritious food that the kids eat, that if that's their only meal a day, that they're not just going to survive, but they're going to thrive. And so our partners can come alongside us, help us ship the meals over there, serve the meals to the kids. For all of us that have done those packing events at Feed My Starving Children, they often wonder, well, where does the food go? Well, you can travel with Hope for Kids and get to meet the children that receive that life-changing food.
Yeah. Again, wonderful programs, wonderful people, great intentions, great, business ethics. Let me ask you this, because I have a few more questions in my head about just kind of the program itself. And how did you meet Tom?
Well, Tom was my trip leader in Peru.
Yeah.
And so, you kind of wonder sometimes, I don't know, I think a lot of people are naturally skeptics, especially in today's world. And you go, is this really legitimate? Or,
Yeah, exactly.
And Tom's an awesome guy. He got started smuggling Bibles into the Soviet Union.
I read
On his on his eighth or ninth attempt. He got stopped by the KGB, got thrown in jail, stripped search. They took away his visa for 5 years, got thrown out of Russia. And then instead of sitting by the sidelines, he started smuggling aid and materials into communist China and Vietnam and other countries. And that's kind of how Hope for Kids got our start. But I remember in Peru, we ate at this restaurant and they made a spaghetti, and somebody put in too much salt, or like a gallon of salt, like you couldn't even eat it. It was just like, whoa, it was so intense. But here you have all these meals, and our team was not eating the meals. And so instead of throwing out all that food, Tom said, let's pack it up and go serve it to the homeless, outside outside of that restaurant in that area in Cusco. And I just remembered going, Tom is the real deal.
Yeah.
It's not a show. This is, I know he's truly sacrificed over the years, over decades. Next year, we are actually celebrating his 50 years in ministry. 50 years.
Wow.
And so I know typically people in ministry are only around 10 or 15 years. And through the decades, he has stuck with it, impacted literally millions of people around the world, not only on the people that we're serving, but all the team members that travel with this. I know our Hope for Kids staff, he's impacted a wide array of people.
I truly believe it myself, because just having again, you want the people that, who want to be a part of the mission. And when you have the people that are part of the mission, the people who care most and who are with you, they're backing you, you can feel the passion come off of not only the owner, but the workers, the people working alongside. And so I've always felt like if I can get this much emphasis, this much joy, this much passion from the vice president, I can only imagine what the CEO is like. And so I want to say, kudos again to you, Angie, for multiple years of doing this, because I understand the emotional connection to something as this. This is definitely one of those strong things that
when you experience it, you take it on yourself, some of the
Mm-hmm.
family ties and some of the
Mm-hmm.
connections that I would love to understand, A, it's like, how do you maintain those connections, whether that's through
Mm.
writing or through, whatever calls, whatever you do to keep those connections still thriving? And then B, how do you disconnect yourself or allow, not
Mm-hmm.
disconnected, but balance your, mental capacity to not let the torment, not let the bad or the negativity
Mm.
steer you off for like a normal week?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. Well, we're so grateful for the most incredible partners, donors connected to Hope for Kids.
Hmm.
Our greatest supporters are the people that have traveled with us
Awesome.
on our international mission trips because they've seen it.
Yeah.
It's personal to them. They know the people that they're helping. They've seen Hope for Kids International on the field, and they know that we're, great stewards of our finances. I think we got 100% on Charity Navigator under accountability and transparency that
Nice.
we're very proud of. Um, we have to stay in touch. We were just talking about this the other day. Everything is happening through natural relationships. Our
Mhm.
donors and supporters truly become our friends and our
Yeah.
family because we have people that travel with us several times a year
Mhm.
on these trips.
Yeah.
And I'm one of the team leaders along with some of our other program directors. And we get to know them, their families. We do life together, and that includes the ups and the downs throughout life. And so it's texts and phone calls and writing and
Okay.
trips and just visiting Orange County. We had this huge walk for water. We raised money for nearly 4
Nice.
wells, but we're out there and we're celebrating and doing this together with our friends. And I'm
Mhm.
so fortunate. I'm so blessed that I get to do ministry. I get to do what I do with a bunch of people that have like-minded, like-hearted, just the most awesome people
Mhm.
that really, really care.
I love that. You are so fantastic. I give you all the positive vibes today because this is something
Oh,
that
thank you.
again it's like you see the worst in the world and you also
Yeah.
see some of the best in the world, and I can only imagine just like what your mind kind of like it jumps to on certain occasions. Like you could just be down shopping groceries and like piece of
Yeah.
fruit kind of just makes you think about the most horrific thing in the world, and it's like I just want to help by saying it's like you are making such a big difference. There are people out here who want to give you the support, like myself, by giving you a voice, but also there are people like my
Thank you.
audience who want to help you guys achieve, help you guys bring those goals or something to life. So that being said, my usual
Hmm.
typical last question is give us a little bit of goal setting for you and Hope for Kids International, what they're maybe for the end of the year, or if there's something that you guys are trying to project for the upcoming future or the next quarter. Help our audience make your dreams or your goals come to life.
Thanks, Jose. Well, it's not just me. I have an incredible team that I work beside that are just as passionate and working just as diligently as I am in child sponsorship and projects and finance. I mean, in teams. I mean, we've got just the most incredible team here in Arizona, as well as abroad in Uganda and our ministry partners. And that's what makes it so amazing is because we're doing this because we're passionate and we care. And I'm just so
Absolutely.
grateful because it just can't all fall on one person.
Hmm.
And because we have that team, we can lean on each other, especially during the challenging times. You haven't been in ministry long enough until you've been like heartbroken or, something, happens. But our incredible team in Uganda, they are the tip of the spear. They make it all happen.
Hmm.
They are just. I'll tell you what. I just came back from Uganda with
Yeah.
a gentleman who's 80 years old. He started his own company. He was in the business of delivering water in the Southwest of the United States for 57 years.
What?
He sat with 3 U.S. presidents. They invited him to run for governor. This guy is like really affluent and just runs in the most amazing circles. And he said,
Yeah.
Angie, these people in Uganda, I've never met more remarkable people than the people of Uganda.
Awesome.
And that is just kind of sums it up there. We are just for our goals. Jose, we over the last 16 years, we've been able to drill so far 936 wells around the world. About 95% of those are in Uganda. We've drilled other wells in like India, Liberia, Bangladesh, Philippines, Kenya, Nepal. And I am excited to drill our 1,000th well.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully it will be by the end of the year. If not, it'll be in the first quarter next year. So that is a personal goal of mine.
Beautiful.
And we've got other goals. We're partnering with JaVale McGee, who used to be the center for.
I was going to ask that. I wasn't sure. I was just like, I saw the news. I know. I saw the news and I didn't want to bring it up. And I was like, I want to ask and I don't want to ask.
I know. Well, he got traded to the Mavs, which is like my other team because I'm from Dallas.
Yep.
But JaVale's traveled with me 3 times to Uganda, and he is a super guy. I mean, really, I'm a fan of his.
I didn't know he
awesome.
traveled with you to Uganda. That's awesome.
Yeah, 3 times with his foundation, Jug Life, and with Kez Reed. And because of their heart for these kids in Uganda, they are embarking on. They're building a big premier sports complex with Hope for Kids International at our main campus. It's got like this awesome basketball court. There's going to have locker rooms. I mean, they just finished putting on the roof this week.
Beautiful.
It's awesome. So I know he's going to be back to celebrate that with us. So we've got projects in different villages, finishing up one of our secondary schools, which is a whole high school on our campus. Wow. We're embarking on doing the water sanitation infrastructure for a couple of schools right now. I mean, we've got lots of things in the hopper, and I wish there was like 36 hours in a day because
you want to get as much in as possible. I totally
know,
understand.
and it's so fun. You get to do this with your friends around the world, so keeps us busy.
I love that, and that's again one of those. I come across nonprofits of all sorts, shapes, sizes, and we try our best to really show how much passion, joy, empathy goes into every single one of these, because again, it's a nonprofit. At the end of the day, you're really kind of asking for help from others.
Yeah.
And so that, that's the most vulnerable state a lot of humans can be in, is asking for help. And so that is something not easy. I understand. And I've been there. I've definitely been on the other side, doing nonprofit work. And, I empathize for you, and I just want to give my best, for you guys, because I know how much these kids love it. And I know, and I'll give you a little bit of tidbit. I am a landscape designer.
Awesome.
During the day. That's kind of my day job.
I love that.
And in college, we for grad school, we had to do an international studies group. And so there was one group that went to Kenya to help build a treatment center, like a hospital sort of thing. And that was fun for them. Every single kid or student who went there really was life changed. I unfortunately went the other route. I went more of like metropolitan, like we went to London, and I was learning about history and how architecture kind of forms through history. But the one thing that I did take away was that the kids from the international group were, again, really moved, and a lot of their designs were based in that community, based around the, what they've learned. And it just was, again, like you said, they were truly moved by just some of the people and the impacts that they've been through and their resilience. So I have no doubt that you've been life changed. I have no doubt that Hope for Kids International has a lot of good things coming down in the future. And all I want is just for you to let everyone know now, because we pitch it off to you at the end, to let everyone know where they can find you online, any events promotional wise that you have coming up, email address, all of that good stuff to help let everyone know where they can find you online and in person. So go right ahead.
Great.
Angie, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Jose. Well, if you'd like to join us online, you can go to our website, ki.org for Hope for Kids International. We've got an awesome Walk for Water coming up on Saturday, November 12th. You can find, if you go to our main website there, you can find the information and click on to register. We are walking in honor of the children and women who have to walk for water each day. And so we're hosting this event in Anthem. We'll be walking, about a 3-mile walk in celebration in honor of those women and children. Yep. And I think we're raising money for 2 or 3 wells. Wow. So just for you coming out and walking, I mean, you are making an impact. You are literally, saving lives and transforming a village. So we would love all of our listeners to come out and join us. And we've got lots of programs on our website for you to get involved. If you'd like to sponsor a child, we've got lots of kids available for sponsorship that you can help send to school and get their uniforms and medical care and food. And these kids just need, just the love and care of a sponsor. And so we love for you to do that as well. Mm-hmm. And for our adventurous group, I would love for you guys to join us on a mission team. We've got about 12 international mission trips throughout the year. Yeah. You guys can email our teams department, teams@h4ki.org. Mm-hmm. Or find our available trip dates online. And I mean, it will ruin you in the best way possible. And we will talk you through, answer any questions that you may have. But I'm telling you, it's going to be the best.
Well, thank you, Angie. And again, I have no doubt that anyone who signs up or who's going to be a part of this will definitely be changed for the rest of our lives. And so before we go, ladies and gentlemen, we do have our end piece. You can hear every episode of our podcast at findingarizonapodcast.com. We make it easy for you guys to connect with us through social media. That's Finding Arizona Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Last but not least, if you want to go become a super fan, there's bonus content available at patreon.com/findingarizona podcast. And last but not least, they are hiding over here sleeping on the floor, but we always say at the end of every episode, kisses, hugs, and belly rubs to our 4-legged friends, and we will see you all on the next episode. Goodbye.